Piano by the English writer D.H. Lawrence first appeared in his 1913 collection, Love Poems and Others. The poem nostalgically recounts the speaker's childhood memories evoked by a woman's singing. The music transports him to a time when he was small enough to sit under the piano at home. Pressing down on his mother's feet as she worked the pedals, he listened to her play and sing hymns on a Sunday. Lawrence vividly portrays the warmth and security of these moments, highlighting a deep emotional connection to his past. As he becomes overwhelmed by longing, he seems to mourn the lost innocence and simplicity of his early years that is linked to the comfort of his mother's presence. Through rich sensory imagery and a reflective tone, Lawrence explores themes of memory, loss, and the powerful influence of music in rekindling emotions from one's youth. This lyrical poem can be considered as Proustian. In the French writer Marcel Proust's novel In Search of Lost Time, or À la recherche du temps perdu, the narrator famously experiences involuntary memory, where a seemingly insignificant sensory stimulus, in this case the taste of a madeleine, which is a small cake, evokes a flood of memories from his past. These moments of involuntary memory bring back not just the events, but also the emotions associated with those events. Similarly, in Lawrence's piano, the sound of the woman singing evokes a powerful, involuntary memory of the speaker's childhood. This memory is both comforting and painful, as it transports the speaker back to a time of innocence and maternal affection, yet also reminds him that that time is irrevocably lost. Lawrence's deep emotional bond with his mother is well documented. A cultured, intellectual woman, she was profoundly influential in both his life and his writing, and he frequently referred to her in his letters. After her death in 1910, he freely expressed not only his grief and longing, but also the way her presence continued to influence his adult self. In a letter to his close friend and confidant, Blanche Jennings, he wrote, "I cannot bear to think of her, suffering so hard and knowing she was leaving us all, whom she so loved." His most autobiographical novel, Sons and Lovers, published in the same year as this poem, gives a fictionalized account of his childhood and his overwhelming attachment to and dependence on his mother. In it, Gertrude Morel, the mother of the protagonist Paul Morel, is described as the only thing that held him up, himself, amid all this. Let her go, and he was lost, thrown back upon himself in horror and barrenness and futility. The poem comprises 3 stanzas of 4 lines each, also known as quatrains. Although there is no fixed metrical or rhythmic structure, with line lengths varying between 13 and 19 syllables, the poem can be said overall to have a rising metre, where the stress occurs on the final syllable of a metrical foot. In other words, iambs didum and anapaests dididum predominate, e.g., in spite of myself, the insidious mastery of song. As a side note, observe how the middle syllable of mastery is elided or omitted to create mastery in order to allow the rhythm to flow. This rising metre, combined with extensive use of enjambment, where the meaning on one poetic line spills over onto the next without punctuation to pause it, drive the rhythm relentlessly forward, as though, once his memory has been triggered, nothing can stop this flood of remembrance. The poem has a rhyme scheme of A, B, etc., or rhyming couplets. Most rhymes are single or masculine, where the rhyme falls on the final stressed syllable of the line, e.g. me and see. In an example of form reflecting meaning, the simplicity of this rhyming structure seems to reflect the simplicity of the past, for which Lawrence yearns. The poem is written in the first person I, and in the present tense, which not only makes it highly personal, but also gives it a sense of immediacy, as though we are reliving the memory at the same time as the speaker. Lawrence employs a number of sound patterning techniques, such as alliteration, e.g. betrays me back, consonants, in particular sibilants, e.g. in spite of myself, the insidious mastery of song, and assonance, e.g. tingling strings, as well as onomatopoeia, e.g. boom and tinkling, to lend the poem a muted musicality. A number of words and phrases such as in spite of myself, insidious, betrays me, and weeps belong to a semantic field of negativity, evoking a sense of emotional turmoil, inner conflict, and vulnerability. Equally, there are also words such as smiles, cosy, tinkling, and glamour, which belong to a semantic field of positivity, evoking warmth, comfort, and delight. The juxtaposition of these semantic fields suggests the bittersweet nature of Lawrence's experience, where the happiness associated with the memory causes him pain, reminding him of people and of a time that are no longer present. The one-word title, piano, immediately directs the reader's attention to the central sensory experience of the poem, the sound of the piano. This focus highlights the pivotal role that music plays in triggering the speaker's memories and emotional response. The piano is not just an instrument. It is a key to unlocking a flood of personal recollections and feelings, and it symbolises both comfort and loss. It represents the warmth and familiarity of the speaker's childhood, as well as the emotional weight of nostalgia. The instrument serves as a conduit for recalling cherished moments with his mother, but also underscores the pain of their irrevocable passage. The poem begins, "Softly, in the dusk, a woman is singing to me." Note how Lawrence uses two fronted adverbials here, softly and in the dusk, to create a dreamy atmosphere before placing both the singer and himself in the scene. The sibilance of softly, dusk, and singing creates a subtle, muted feel and provides a quiet point from which this first stanza will depart to reach an emotional as well as oral crescendo. The woman singing is a trigger, taking me back down the vista of years. A vista is a mental view of a succession of remembered events and suggests how the speaker is transported on a journey back to his childhood, seeing past events whiz by almost as though they are outside a train window. Till I see a child sitting under the piano, in the boom of the tingling strings, and pressing the small poised feet of a mother who smiles as she sings. Note the use of the indefinite article a here, rather than the possessive pronoun me and the possessive determiner my, to describe both the child and the mother, which highlights how he seems to revisit this memory as an outsider, as someone looking in at himself as though he is a totally separate person. Lawrence also uses some interesting sound patterning here, which contrasts with the relatively muted first line. First, we have the onomatopoeia of boom, then the combined assonants, i.e. repeated vowel sounds, consonants, i.e. repeated consonant sounds, and near internal rhyme present in tingling strings, as well as the idiophonic properties of the word tingling, to evoke the thundering acoustics and thrilling vibration of the piano strings as the boy sits under the instrument, exposed to its inner workings. This vivid sensory imagery, fizzing with energy, heightens the emotional impact of the scene. Lawrence's description of his mother's feet, using the adjective small and poised as they deftly work the piano's pedals, communicates a sense of delicacy and refinement. The fact that she smiles as she sings immediately establishes a sense of emotional warmth. Note how lines 2 and 3 are enjambed, forcing the reader on without pause at the end of the line, and that each line of the first stanza is longer than the preceding one. The momentum that this creates conveys the way in which he is rushed back through time towards this memory, this sense of a lack of control, and his resistance to revisit the past is picked up at the beginning of the second stanza, as he begins it, "In spite of myself, the insidious mastery of song betrays me back." The adjective insidious is used to describe something that proceeds in a gradual, subtle way, but with harmful effects. Note the sibilants here, found in spite, myself, insidious, mastery, and song. Its softly hissing quality, enhancing the way something as seemingly innocuous as a piece of music can, with mastery, skillfully breach your defences and insinuate itself in your psyche without your being able to do anything about it. The plosive alliteration of betrays and back heightens the speaker's sense that he has been unwittingly lured into an unwanted, highly vulnerable state, till the heart of me weeps to belong to the old Sunday evenings at home. The phrase, "the heart of me," communicates how he feels this sense of loss to his very core. The feeling of being an outsider that was hinted at in the first stanza with the use of the indefinite article is picked up again with his expressed wish to belong to this scene of family togetherness. The adjective old, however, conveys the futility of this desire, as these days are no more. In the remainder of the stanza, Lawrence continues to create a picture of a domestic idyll, where the sense of warmth, safety, and security of his home, with hymns in the cosy parlour, the tinkling piano our guide, is highlighted by the fact that winter is kept at bay outside. The onomatopoeic adjective tinkling suggests the pleasingly delicate way his mother played the hymns. The third stanza begins with a brief acknowledgement of the present. So now it is vain for the singer to burst into clamour with the great black piano appassionato. It is, however, to assert that even the singer's own crescendo as her performance comes to a climax as she bursts into clamour would be insufficient to snap him out of his reverie. Note how the word clamour, which denotes a loud and persistent noise, suggests a certain harshness which is unwelcome. This is further enhanced by the plosive alliteration of b and p sounds here, burst, black, piano, and appassionato, in these lines. The singer is accompanied by the great black piano appassionato, a grand piano played with a sense of emotional intensity. The reference to an expensive piano and the use of Italian musical terminology here would suggest that this concert is the epitome of glamour in one of the nation's venues, a sophistication contrasting with the hymns played on a much more modest tinkling instrument in a domestic setting. Lawrence, however, dismisses them, instead reserving the word glamour for those alluring childish days which are upon him. He has been taken over, his manhood cast down in the flood of remembrance. The metaphor flood of remembrance here evokes a deluge of memories, the sheer power of which has swept away the defences of his adult male self, leaving him vulnerable as he weeps like a child for the past. This simile, which ends the poem on a note of pathos, suggests the very Edwardian sensibility of the stiff upper lip that persists to this day, i.e. that it is not manly to cry. Emotions are, after all, for women and children. In conclusion, piano masterfully captures the bittersweet power of memory, evoking the deep emotional connection between past and present. Through the speaker's involuntary recollection triggered by music, Lawrence explores universal themes of loss, nostalgia, and the yearning for a simpler, more innocent time. The poem's use of sound, imagery, and rhythmic techniques enhances its emotional depth, as the speaker mourns the lost warmth and security of his childhood, particularly his connection to his mother. In this way, piano resonates with the reader as a profound meditation on the fleeting nature of time and the enduring hold of memory. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments section below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos on English language topics and exam techniques, and English literature texts.